In a pivotal moment during the late 14th century, the Ottoman Empire demonstrated its growing dominance in Anatolia through the Siege of Konya, a decisive campaign that threatened the very survival of the Karamanid Principality. Following a series of battlefield victories that had shattered Karaman's forces, Sultan Murad I advanced swiftly, determined to capitalize on the disarray of Alaeddin Bey's army and secure complete control over one of Anatolia's most significant urban centers. After the Karaman army's collapse, Alaeddin Bey, the principality's ruler, fled toward Konya, seeking refuge within the city's fortified walls. Recognizing the opportunity to end Karaman's resistance once and for all, the Ottoman army pursued relentlessly, applying pressure at every turn. The speed and coordination of the Ottoman forces left little room for Alaeddin to regroup or mount further defenses. The approach to Konya was strategic. Ottoman units systematically advanced to surround the city, cutting off potential escape routes and isolating the defenders from reinforcements and supplies. Soldiers were deployed to key points around the city's perimeter, forming a tight encirclement that signaled both military dominance and the inevitability of imminent confrontation. The city, renowned for its size and cultural significance, now faced the full might of a disciplined and determined Ottoman army. Within the walls of Konya, panic and uncertainty spread among the inhabitants and the remaining Karamanid troops. The earlier victories of the Ottomans on the battlefield had already demoralized the defenders, and now the reality of being surrounded intensified fears of imminent defeat. Civilians and soldiers alike watched the Ottoman forces occupy key access points, understanding that Alaeddin Bey's rule, which had long been a symbol of Karamanid authority, was on the brink of collapse. The Ottoman military strategy combined both direct confrontation and psychological pressure. Cavalry units patrolled the outer perimeter, while infantry contingents prepared to enter and secure strategic locations within the city. The presence of well-coordinated forces in multiple areas of Konya created an impression of inevitability. The city's defenses, while historically formidable, were unlikely to withstand the multifaceted Ottoman approach. Sultan Murad I's leadership during the siege was decisive. Having witnessed the previous collapse of Alaeddin Bey's forces, he ensured that the army maintained discipline and avoided unnecessary destruction of urban infrastructure. The goal was clear: to demonstrate Ottoman supremacy and enforce political submission while preserving the city's economic and cultural value for future governance. This approach reflected the dual priorities of military efficiency and pragmatic statecraft. The encirclement of Konya also carried symbolic weight. The city was not merely a defensive stronghold, it had been the administrative and cultural center of the Karamanid Principality. Its capture would represent a decisive shift in Anatolian power dynamics, solidifying Ottoman authority in the region and sending a clear warning to other rival principalities considering resistance. Many Ottoman units successfully entered Konya under controlled conditions, securing key gates and internal positions. Their presence inside the city demonstrated the effectiveness of coordinated siege operations. It also emphasized that the Ottomans were capable of integrating tactical victories on the battlefield with strategic control of urban centers, a combination that would define their approach to expansion for decades to come. Alaeddin Bey's position grew increasingly precarious as the siege progressed. Surrounded, cut off from reinforcements, and facing an enemy whose momentum had yet to wane, the Karamanid ruler confronted the reality of imminent loss. Historical accounts note that morale within the city was low, and many defenders began to question the possibility of a successful counterattack. The psychological impact of the siege was as decisive as the physical encirclement, as the presence of Ottoman forces within and around Konya made resistance seem futile. Despite the apparent inevitability of defeat, political considerations began to influence Sultan Murad I's decisions. The potential destruction of Konya could have destabilized the region, creating vacuums that might provoke further unrest among neighboring principalities. Recognizing the value of measured restraint, Murad balanced military dominance with the possibility of negotiation, a tactic that would later demonstrate the Ottomans' capacity to combine force with diplomacy. The siege also underscored the growing sophistication of Ottoman military organization. Coordinated movements, clear command structures, and the integration of infantry and cavalry in both assault and occupation allowed the army to exert comprehensive control over the battlefield and surrounding urban areas. Such operational efficiency contrasted sharply with the more fragmented forces of Karaman, whose earlier collapse had left them unable to mount an effective defense. From a broader strategic perspective, the siege of Konya represented a turning point in Anatolian history. The imminent fall of the city highlighted the Ottoman state's capacity to pursue a comprehensive campaign, integrating battlefield victories with urban encirclement to enforce political dominance. Neighboring states and principalities observed these developments closely, gaining insight into the growing reach and efficiency of Ottoman power. For the residents of Konya, the siege was a moment of crisis. Yet it was also an illustration of the Ottoman approach to governance and warfare. Overwhelming force applied with discipline, tempered by calculated restraint. The occupation of key areas within the city allowed the Ottomans to assert control without completely devastating the urban landscape, preserving resources for integration into the expanding empire. Ultimately, the siege of Konya was not merely a military operation, it was a demonstration of statecraft in action. It showcased the Ottomans' ability to capitalize on battlefield success, to apply pressure through encirclement, and to create conditions for both surrender and political negotiation. Aladdin Bey's position was clearly endangered, and the principality's autonomy was under direct threat. Yet the outcome also reflected the Ottomans' strategic foresight and emphasis on sustainable conquest. The encirclement and partial occupation of Konya marked the near completion of a campaign that had begun with rapid pursuit and decisive battlefield engagements. The Karamanid ruler's power was on the verge of collapse, yet the measured approach of Sultan Murad Tarf ensured that the city's capture would serve broader objectives, reinforcing Ottoman authority, stabilizing the region, and demonstrating the empire's capacity to integrate military and political strategy. In retrospect, the Siege of Konya exemplifies the Ottoman Empire's emerging model of expansion, combining speed, discipline, and overwhelming force with pragmatic political foresight. It was a demonstration that military victories were only the first step in consolidating power, and that the ultimate goal was the sustainable integration of conquered territories into a cohesive imperial system. By surrounding Konya, entering strategic points within the city, and exerting pressure on the Karamanid ruler, the Ottomans illustrated both the effectiveness of their military machine and their capacity for strategic patience. Aladdin Bey's rule, once secure within the walls of Konya, now teetered on the brink of collapse, a testament to the rising supremacy of Sultan Murad Zafar and the Ottoman state across Anatolia. The Siege of Konya remains a defining episode in the history of the Ottoman expansion, showing how decisive action, operational efficiency, and strategic foresight combined to reshape the political landscape of late 14th century Anatolia.